This is ASOTU Unscripted, and I'm your host, Errol Bomar.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Errol Bomar here, ASOTUCon 2025. Super excited. We, of course, are at the Unscripted desk, and we're going to continue the conversation moving forward. I'm revved up, ready to go, and I know our next guest is as well. So do me a favor. You know what I'm going to ask you to do. That's right, round of applause. I don't care that you're virtual. If you're here, I want to hear it as well. Let's welcome Kyle Newsom. Kyle, come on up.
Hi, sir.
Hey, pleasure to have you here. Welcome to Unscripted. All right, so first and foremost, I tell everybody, whatever you thought you were going to talk about, throw it out the window. We're gonna start a whole new thing. All right. So first off, let me ask you: is this your first time at ASOTUCon?
This is our first time at ASOTUCon.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. Well, welcome. First of many, right?
That's
we're
right.
Gonna keep this going.
Right. Yeah.
But let me ask you, because I'm curious to know, what made you make this event priority?
So we've looked at other events and we've been to some of the other events, but this event here, it's really the people. And it's the understanding of the true passion and care for the people and being around like-minded individuals that are all looking to really grow and develop and empower their individuals.
Absolutely.
That's our environment. We thrive in that environment. And so I just love being around those type of people and learning from them.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And that's a great reason to be here. So the one thing I always ask people I want to know about then, now, and what's to come. So tell me, how'd you get in the automotive industry? Tell me about then, and then we'll talk about a little bit more about now.
Yeah, so I always say I was kind of born into it. So my family owned and operated multiple different businesses when I was growing up, and I didn't realize family vacations were a thing because we just worked 7 days a week was a reality. Everything from, a trash company to a body shop to printing and advertising to obviously auto mechanics.
Right.
And then I started working for dealerships, and I got involved with Ford as a technician.
Okay.
Grew through the ranks through Ford, ended up meeting my wife, and she said, hey, I want to move. And so we decided, we're going to move. So we ended up in Nebraska, started working for dealerships still, and ended up with Larry Van Tile. So started working for the Larry Van Tile group.
Yes.
And it was an amazing experience. Got to do some really, really unique things within the group and grew through the ranks to be a fixed operations director over multiple stores. And so now, the moment I honestly realized that I could invest in the people and really develop people, the greatest multiplier in any business is people.
Yes,
if
for
I
sure.
can develop the people, that's when, I don't want to say it got easier, but it did get a lot easier, right?
Of course, absolutely. Because it's a perspective shift.
100%.
And once you know it, you're like, oh, this is the key. Like, once I have this key, it's like a master key, right? Once I unlock this, all the doors open.
Yes, yeah. And so just to see those people kind of break through those limited beliefs that they may have and realize that, hey, I can achieve this. I can do this. And our big thing, hey, how do I set the environment up so they're successful? A lot of the times it's hammering on KPIs, and we weaponize KPIs in this business. That's just what it's been. But hey, can I change the environment and really set the environment up for success to where if I have a map and a roadmap to get them there and my job is to be the guide as the leader, it's amazing to see what happens.
That's great. I love that. Now, I ask people a lot of time when the moment they knew that they love people more than they love cars. But you just mentioned you met your wife in this industry. So that's a pretty significant moment, right?
Yeah, so I knew my wife, high school sweethearts, really. And so we kind of grew up in that environment. And then, we lived in a smaller town in Missouri at that time. And so she says, hey, I'm doing more, right? I want more. And so guess what? We ended up moving, right? And so we ended up moving. And then in 2023, so we kind of fast forward, right, to the now, right?
To the now, yes.
Yeah, so we go to 2023 at that point, I guess a little presence, and we decide we're going to start our own company. And so we go all in and we say we're going to start our own company, really focusing on the people. In a unique way, we're going to do it in fixed operations because that's our background, right? Is fixed operations. So, hey, how do I deliver something to fixed operations to where it's really focused on the individual, to where I can give them the knowledge, but I can also give them the execution and the accountability? Because usually we have one of those things, right? We have one, but does anything ever change, right? I might be able to talk the talk. I know the acronyms, right? But does anything ever change? Well, it's that execution piece. And then, hey, how do we hold them accountable every single day? And we talk a lot about kind leadership. One of our mottos is embrace kindness, ignite greatness. And we stand behind that.
I love that.
And the whole point of kindness is really to be a kind leader. And we see a lot of nice leaders out there.
Yeah.
And you're doing a very big disservice to that individual being that nice leader, meaning, hey, they'll eventually get it. I know they're struggling here. They kind of fumbled there. Let's just see what happens next time. Versus if you're a kind leader, well, I'm going to hold you accountable, but I'm also going to make sure you're set up for success.
Absolutely.
I'm going to provide the path for you. I'm going to hold you accountable to that, which sometimes is hard conversations, right?
Absolutely.
But, hey, how do we do that? So we started the company focusing on fixed operations training.
Okay.
And at that point in time, right, we decided, hey, we're going to go all in. So
okay. Well, now when you say wait, when you say all in, tell me more about this, because all in means a lot of things. I'm thinking like all chip. We are at the live. I'm thinking all chips on the table.
Yeah.
When you say all in, how all in did you guys go?
Yeah. So at the time, right, we lived on a beautiful acreage in a custom home. Had some great toys. I've got a wife and 3 beautiful kids.
Okay.
And we said, okay, we're going all in. Sold everything. Sold all the toys. Sold the house. Sold the cars. Right.
Yes.
Everything we owned fit in one U-Haul, and we came to Texas.
Wow.
So our company's based out of Texas now.
Okay.
And so we went from that to now we're in a house in Texas, of course.
Right.
Big shock, right, for the kids that have never really knew neighbors and things like that.
Right.
Tough on, husband and wife, that marriage, right? That's your partner, that's your support. And, thank God that I have the wife that I have that kind of puts up with me, right?
Of course.
And really supports me and what we're trying to do. But when I say we're all in, we're all in.
I love that. And that's amazing. And that's a great testament, because I think it's funny, too, that you mentioned first it was your wife that said, hey, I want more. And then now you both kind of came back and said, hey, no, let's do more than more, right? What can be more than more?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great testament. So what are some things that you're excited about? So we talked about then, we talked a little bit about now, but when you talk about the trajectory, what are you seeing in the people? What are you seeing in the results that make you excited for what's to come in the future?
So what's so nice about it is when we get involved, right, or we see this with multiple dealerships, is a lot of times they're kind of stuck in the weeds, or they're in that reactive mode. They're constantly fighting fires. You ask any manager out there, they're probably going to mention, I got a lot of fires to fight, right?
Right.
Well, hey, have you stopped for a second and looked for the guy with the matches in his pocket?
There you go.
Right? That might be a good step one, is we get so involved in that reactive state. And so the moment that we can train them and teach those individuals to really open their eyes and understand that, hey, there is a proactive approach to this business.
Yes.
And it's usually done through the foundations, the not so fun stuff sometimes. It's the job descriptions, it's the processes that we create, having those things written down and having clear expectations. What is the expectation we're setting? What's the standard in your store that you're setting? And the moment we start to really understand that, and we all have a common vision and we know where we're going, we know what the standard is in the store, we empower our employees with the knowledge and the execution and the tools that they need to really get there, man, they do some amazing things.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
And that's, I love the way that you phrase it about the standard, right? Because I think one of the things that's true when you talk about that nice versus kind, right? I don't necessarily have to demean you to let you know, hey, you didn't get there, you didn't get the goal. I can simply point and say, this is the standard. Are you meeting the standard?
Yes.
And once we have the standard set and people buy into that standard and they understand, like, this is the standard, it's just like with any other like team sport or
100%.
Anything else where everybody's involved with the vision, they're going to push to make sure that that standard is upheld. And then vice versa, it does create that accountability that you mentioned. Because if I'm doing the standard and you're next to me and you're not meeting the standard, I'm definitely going to call you out.
100%.
And we see that in cultures where that exists, where that's where you get that successful culture, whether it be in sports or business or other applications. When you have a culture that can say, like, no, I'm towing the line, I expect you to do the same and just maintain this standard that we all agreed that we're going to uphold. That's great. So
you look at any team and they look at, like, they practice, right?
Absolutely.
The Super Bowl champions, guess what they did the next week? They still practice, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So it's understanding that it's okay, because a lot of times we practice on our customers and it costs us a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Hey, you practice with your team, guess what? It's not costing you anything.
Not costing you anything. And a lot of times it's saving you and potentially even helping you be more profitable, right? Because when you get into those situations, you can run the play, you know the practice, you know you talked about, but more importantly, you know, like, this is the standard, so I can operate from a position where I'm just working towards the standard. I don't have to try to figure it out. I don't have to reinvent the wheel, as they say. All I have to do is like, oh, that's the goal line. Let me just inch by inch make my way to that direction. Well, Kyle, tell people more about, if they want more information. I know you're here at the convention, but tell them a little bit more about where they can find you, how they can contact you, how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so we're on social media, of course. LinkedIn is pretty heavy presence. You can search for Kyle Newsom on LinkedIn, or our company, Vasperio. It's Visperio. And then, of course, you can go to our website, www.vasperio.com.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, Kyle, thanks for sitting down with us. Thanks for joining Unscripted and just staying off the cuff and talking a little bit about how we're continuing to love people more than we love cars.
Hey, thank
you so much. We appreciate you being here. My pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, that's another one. You heard it here. I've got Kyle here, Unscripted. Kyle is not only here at ASOTUCon 2025. He mentioned this is his first ASOTUCon, but not the last, I'm sure. So we're excited to have him here, thankful to have him here. And this is another episode of Unscripted. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Unscripted. At ASOTU, we're obsessed with uniting people around one big idea, that thriving people are the only path to a thriving and profitable industry. If that resonates with you, then head over to morethancars.com, join our email list, and explore our full list of podcasts.